Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at Earth and Sky this beautiful January morning. And we are going to be talking about the new moon today. So we've been talking this year, we've been saying that this year we're going to be talking about the moon phases. We're going to get really in depth about a lot of the moon phases, what you can do, how you can work with them in your life. And before we get into that though, if you are on YouTube, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you would. And you can check the bell button to subscribe to as many or as few updates as you would like. You can customize it for whatever you would like to hear from Earth and Sky. And if you're on Facebook, if you would please hit the like button. And we'd love it if you want to share the videos too, so that you can share that out to some of your friends if you enjoy the content that we provide. We also love seeing those hearts and likes on the video when we do the replay. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you are ever interested in joining us, Wednesday nights is when we actually record the broadcast, so you can contact us if you want information on that. But we have been talking last year about the wheel of the year and each of the different Sabbats and Esbats that travel the holidays as we circle the wheel each year. We're coming up pretty soon to Imbolc here. We're right between Yule and Imbolc in this height of winter as the sun is starting to slowly circle back around. I don't know if you've been noticing that it is getting light a little bit earlier in the morning. It's staying light a little bit later. So it's still very cold though if you're in the Midwest or the Northeast or any of those places. And which I kind of prefer anyway, but don't be mad at me. And so segueing right into the moons though, we talked a couple weeks ago about the wolf moon. The January moon is often known as the wolf moon, which is that you can just really focus on embracing that wolf energy. It's a wonderful time to bring all of those traits into yourself. Anytime we talk about the moon's energy, for a specific month, we'll talk about what the full moon energy is for that month. If you want to know more about that, go ahead and check a couple weeks back for the Wolf Moon broadcast. But we are now coming up to the new moon. So on Tuesday, in just 2 days, we're circling into the new moon, which is wonderful energy for intention setting. It's wonderful energy for new beginnings, if you're wanting to start something new. Great energy for the new year too, as you're starting new things. This happens every single month where we get a new moon that we can begin to focus on figuring out what you want for that month. Now a lot of times what you can do, because the new moon does turn into the full moon as it waxes forward, and so if you know what the moon is for that month, so say the wolf moon was at the end of the month and we were celebrating the new moon and the wolf moon was coming up, I would suggest that you think about what we'll be talking about for the new moon, with setting your intentions and setting goals, deciding what you want to have for yourself. And you might tie that in with the wolf energy then, and you might see how you can trail that into leadership energy or energy of pack energy, the people around you, all of the traits of the wolf. You might decide your goals for that month with the new moon would be tied in somehow with what you can learn from that wolf moon energy, because it will really compound what you learn that way. Now the exciting thing with January, we started this in December, where we talked about the trilogy of the supermoons. NASA coined that term. And so we had in December the supermoon, and then we had the beginning of January, January 2nd, another supermoon. And then at the end of this month, we have another supermoon. It's very rare to have 3 supermoons all together. The supermoon basically means it's closest to the earth. So we might feel her energy even more than normal because she's really close to us. We'll feel that pull of that energy from her, and so you can use that to really magnify your goals even more. You should also be aware as we come up to the full moons, especially when it's a supermoon, their energy might be heightened even more than normal. A lot of people notice at the full moon that there's a little bit of a chaotic energy, there's a little bit more emotional energy, there's a little bit more of an energy where people get heightened and sometimes worked up a little bit too. I know the police centers and emergency rooms get packed at the full moon because of that chaotic energy. and that just hyper energy. Well, the new moon is the counterpoint to that. So the new moon is that really grounding energy. It's a baseline energy. And so it has a softer energy. It's an energy that might have you feeling like you want to go outdoors a bit more, maybe when it's not so cold, and get grounded. It's a good time to plant seeds. Farmers sometimes will even say planting seeds at the new moon is good because it actually activates that energy a little bit more too. The Farmer's Almanac is fascinating for all of the things that it will tell you about planting seasons and the way it ties everything in. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track with that. So with the new moon energy, it's a great time to go outside, get into the dirt a little bit if you do garden, or go outside and just go for a walk and allow yourself to open up. The other thing that's nice about the new moon is that it's a time when you can see the stars more in the sky because you don't have all of that bright moonlight that's shining. It has a darker sky, so you might see more stars illuminating. And I like the thought of, when you think about that, often in our lives when we feel like we're at a really dark point, when we feel like the moon is dark and we don't feel like we see a whole lot of light in our life, that new moon energy reminds us to look up and look out, and you'll see stars shining. There's always something that still sparkles in the background, even when things do feel dark and they do feel like there's not as much light and you have to really search more for it. You can search farther, look past the moon, and see all the stars that are out there as well. So the new moon really is a lot about looking within. It's about the shadow self. It's kind of a darker energy, where the full moon has that bright energy. The new moon is that darker energy. So it's looking within. It's seeing what lies underneath in you. What awakens you? What gives you passion? Where are your fears? Where are your concerns? Where does depression come from within you? Where do you have maybe phobias? Where do you not want to look at yourself sometimes? And it beckons you to look at those parts of yourself, to open up and to not judge any of it, but just to open up, to look within and see those parts of yourself and welcome those parts of yourself, because we're human and we have a full range of all of these emotions and all of these aspects of ourselves. And when we recognize it and we see it and we look at it, then we can decide how we want to evolve from there and where we want to carry ourselves from there. And so really using that new moon energy to look within, to call out those aspects within. If you're trying to get through any fears, if you're trying to get through any phobias, if you're trying to get through any addictions, the new moon is really the time to do it, because the new moon is that clean slate. It's opening up all of that energy. It's also the energy of the crone. So if you think of the crone is that the dark wise woman energy. It's that ancient soulful energy. It's the energy of our ancestors. It's the energy of the wise ones. So all of that energy comes out with the new moon as well. It's that beautiful, dark, soulful inspiration. If you're seeking answers, if you're wanting to start something new, this is the time to do it. And so each month, it's a really nice idea to decide what you want for that month too, because we all have within our lives goals that we want to set. We often think about that at the new year, and we talk about in October 31st with the new year as far as our wheel of the year. We talk about it again at January 1st. Some people talk about it at the Chinese New Year. You don't see that as often though. And so if you can tune that in even more in every month, start to think about what goals you want to set for yourself for that month. Where do you want to improve on yourself for that month? And you might choose in a certain month, it might be business. Another month, it might be personal. It might be relational. It might be whatever you want it to be. But the new moon is where you set those intentions and you start to plant those seeds. And you figure out what it is you want to brew in your life that month. And journaling is a wonderful way to keep track of how you feel at the different moon phases. And it's a wonderful way to track your progress, because sometimes as we progress and as we're creating things in our lives, sometimes it's easy to lose track of how far we've come, because we get into seeing where we're at now and we keep trying to plunge ahead and to go forward, and we keep getting new things that we want, especially in the American culture. It's so big in the American culture. We're always pushing forward harder, faster, instead of thinking about the gratitude, thinking about where we've come from, and getting that inspiration within the moment too. And so being gentle with yourself, and as Americans, we're not taught to be gentle with ourselves very often either. It's always about push, move forward faster and harder. And so instead, use this gentle new moon energy. Sometimes some people will say the new moon energy is the energy of children too. I tend to see it more as the energy of the crone or the wise one, but if it feels like it resonates to you as having that childlike energy too, that innocent energy, sometimes that helps with intention setting as well. Thinking of how you want to recreate yourself that month, because even though the moon is still always there, we're just seeing it as dark because it's in our shadow. We can still see it as a way to recreate as we start that whole cycle, waxing and then coming back up to full again. So thinking each month about what your intentions are. You could even plan ahead a few months and think about where you want to plan for goals for a few months ahead. But I'd really want you to revisit it each month and think that specific month about what your intention is, what you want to create in your life in that specific month. And then if you want to tie it in with whatever the theme of the moon is for that month, then you can do that. The exciting thing with this new moon on Tuesday is that it's a blue moon that's coming up, so that's a little bit more rare as well, that we have, you don't always have blue moons in a month. The blue moon is when you get 2 full moons in the same month. It tends to happen a little bit more at the beginning of the year, it seems. Lately, I think we've seen it in October several times too. It seems like January and October tend to be months that, at least that it stood out to me that we've had it. I believe we have 2 blue moons this year. But when it's a new moon that's leading up to a blue moon, you can set your intention for whatever you want, and you have the full power of the moon behind you, because it's not just about the wolf moon energy or the cold moon energy or whatever the theme is, but the blue moon gives it a multiplied factor of the power of whatever your intention is that you're setting. So this is a wonderful, wonderful, and powerful time for you to figure out what your intentions are. Write it down, because that will add so much more power to it, and it will help you as you look back later and you're tracking how you're reaching your goals as you're doing this. You can also use, when you're writing your intention, if you want to use a candle, that's a wonderful way to empower the energy as you're setting your intentions. You can focus on a candle. Some people with the new moon, because it's the shadow moon, and the reason they say it's addressing your shadow self is, well, the moon, like I just said, it's always full, but it's in the earth's shadow. So it's a great time to look at the shadow side of yourself, to look within yourself. What motivates you? What are your, what's going on within you? What are those innermost parts that maybe you don't talk about to everybody? But what is, taking a look at those aspects of yourself and creating yourself to be who you want to be. Because I was just reading recently in a book, The Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod, and one of the things that really stood out to me was he was talking about how you can only create within your life the level, and you'll only attract to yourself the level that you've created yourself to be. So taking time each day to work on yourself and your own personal development is going to really lead a lot towards your success in life, whether it's financial, or relational, or whatever aspects it is that you're wanting to work on. It's taking time each day to work on those aspects of yourself. So the new moon is where you're taking that time and you're looking at your intentions and you're deciding what you want your theme to be for this month, what you want to create in your life this month. So if you want to, you can use a candle. Some people would use a dark candle since it's the dark moon. Some people prefer to always use white candles, or if you have a specific theme of something, then you can use a color that resonates with you for whatever that theme is. Do what feels right for you. I'm not one to ever say this is how it has to be, because it's different for everybody. It's different for each person. So figure out what works for you, and that's another way where your journal is going to come really handy while you're doing this throughout the year with the moon phases, because you can look back and see, oh, I used this type of candle, this is what I was focusing on, this is the effort and energy I put into it, and these were the results that came. And so you'll be able to really fine-tune that and figure out how you can fine-tune that to create and maximize your efforts throughout the coming years as well. Certain stones that work really well for the new moon, because the new moon is often about purification, cleansing, releasing, letting go. That's why it's so good for releasing fears, phobias, and addictions, because it's all about cleansing, releasing, letting go, and then setting the tone, setting the seed, planting the seed, setting your intention for what it is you want to bring in. Often before we bring something in, we have to clear things out. So it has both of those energies in this. And so stones that you might want to use during the new moon would be starlight, which is a beautiful dark stone. It has some light in it too. It's a beautiful, beautiful stone. And that's wonderful for cleansing the physical body. So if you have one of those winter colds right now, as a lot of people do, starlight would be a good stone for that. If you have autoimmune issues, or if you have low energy, or if you have anything you're just wanting to cleanse from your body. It can even help with weight loss or anything that you're wanting to cleanse from your body. Starlight is a great stone to have, and you can have that in front of you, have it with the candle, journal, hold that stone in your hand, just allow it to work with you. Feel the energy as it works with you. If you do crystal gridding, you can put that in the center of your grid and then allow that energy to work through do it a couple days before the new moon and then leave it up for a couple days after the new moon. And each of those days, really set your intention and focus on it. The power of the new moon really lasts for about 3 days before and 3 days after. If you are able to, with your schedule, check an astrological calendar and really focus on it the moment that in your time zone the new moon is at its full peak. That can really add to that energy too. But it's however much effort you put into it, you will also get out of it. So I like to sometimes set a grid a couple days before and charge that grid each day. Make sure you really pay attention to it on the day of the new moon if you can, and then those couple days afterwards. It's wonderful. So starlight for the physical body. Howlite is great for energetic cleansing as well as clear crystal quartz. And howlite, not the type that's similar to turquoise, but Halite, which is a salt stone basically. Selenite, same thing basically. Howlite is more like a rock salt basically, and selenite is the beautiful salt stone that looks very similar to clear quartz. They will often shape the selenite. Any of those work fantastic for energetic cleansing. So if you feel like you've just taken on all the emotions, if you're an empath and you've taken on all of this emotional energy from everybody around you, or even just from yourself, and you feel like you're overwhelmed with it, those stones are really, really good at the new moon to hold. You might even lay down and have them around you and just allow it to take all of that energy out of you and just clear, cleanse, let it all go, and you'll begin to feel your energy coming back to you as well. And right along the lines with the clear quartz and the selenite, you can also just focus on that when you're in the shower with the new moon. See the shower water coming down on you like clear quartz. Just visualize it as doing that spiritual shower where it's just cleansing all of that energy, allowing it all to go right down the drain. Wonderful, wonderful way for releasing emotional energy, especially, or if you feel like you've got energy from other people because you empath it. Labradorite is a great stone for tapping into the magic of the new moon. So if you're working to do magic with the new moon, labradorite is fantastic. You might want to wear it as a bracelet and then just kind of have that on you throughout the new moon's energy, or have it wherever you're working your magic. Labradorite is fantastic. And a newer stone that they've recently started mining called indigo gabbro is also really good for the same purpose, for working the magic. And indigo gabbro, it's being mined in Madagascar, and it's really high in magnesium and iron, and it's great for setting that intention energy with the new moon, for planting your intention. It's beautiful. It can range from light indigo to purple to black colored. If you have one of the spheres, sometimes they're making them into spheres or hearts, you can set that right in the center of your grid or just hold it between your hands. Whenever you're working with stones, if you hold it in your left hand, then you're drawing that energy into you. If you're trying to send energy out, then that's usually through your right hand. So if you're holding it in both of your hands, a lot of times if you're trying to cleanse and just draw in that stone energy, I'd recommend having your left hand underneath and just have that stone in it. Have your right hand on top of it, and then you're just completing that circuit, allowing all of that energy to work through you. You can also have the stones right by your bedside, because when we're sleeping, we're really open and we're rejuvenating, and so just having those stones right by your bedside is another great way to have that energy working with you as you're sleeping, as you're doing your dream work, and all of that. So that's most of what I have for the new moon energy. The biggest key is really figuring out what you want in your life this month. What do you want to set for your intentions? Being realistic, reasonable, gentle with yourself, and just recognizing where you want to go with things this month. Tapping into whatever the theme is for the next upcoming full moon is often very powerful with the new moon. So exciting that this month that we're talking about it happens to be a blue moon, so whatever you want at this beginning of the year, it's a great time to set that up. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one. So if you have any questions, please let us know that. I love to see your questions. I love to see your comments down below. And if you do decide to join us, we always do a little discussion period afterwards, so we'd love to have you join us with that sometime if you're interested. And I do have classes coming up again in March. I will be teaching a beginner Reiki course, Reiki Okuden, and the chakra classes will also be beginning. Chakra classes will be March 5th, and it will be Monday evenings at 6 p.m. at Revive, which is in Flushing. It's a wonderful little store and a wellness spa. They have a lot of great treatments that they offer with very qualified people there. So I'd love to see you there. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks so much. Have a great day.